Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you're okay. Now I will explain about project 3, Mendeskripsikan data. First, I will introduce myself. My name is Nelly Febriani. My student ID number is 21029169. My study program is Mathematics Education, Class A. I will explain about data essay, our three-step process. Step 1, analyze the task and data. Read the task 1 instruction and look at the chart, graph, or table with it for about 1 minute. Make sure that you understand the following. Step 1A is the status data or movement data. What are the timescales? The difference is that status data show one timescale only, while movement data show a number of different timescales. For example, a status data chart may show the population of 5 different cities in 2002, and you need to compare the numbers. Movement data chart will show the 5 cities in 2002 and 2012, and you need to compare the change in the situation from one time scales to the other. This is example chart 1. Below is an example of status data, and this is a example chart below is an example of movement data. Step 1B. What do the two axes show? Is there a time scale on one axis? For example, years, month, horse, etc. If there is a time scale, is this showing the past, present, future, or a combination? What units are shown? For example, 000 of people, or degrees centigrade, or price in dollar signs, etc. Be clear about any multiplies in the figures. For example, 00 people or million of tons. This is to illustrate this. Look at example chart 3 below. This is a movement chart because the time scale show 7 different days. No years, for example 2012, etc. is shown, so you should use the present simple to describe the data. The X are days of the week and 5 separate countries. The units shown are electricity, megawatts, but not in thousands or millions. Remember that the information about the time scale, the X and the units may be located on the chart itself, or it may be in a caption and or contained in the text description. Step 2A, group the data. This means deciding which group of the dates are similar to each other. For example, look at example chart 3 again and ask yourself which countries have a similar pattern in their use of electricity. Are any of the countries very different? The answer is that we can group France and Japan together because their pattern is similar. Their electricity figures fluctuate during the whole week. We can also group Canada and Russia together because they have a similar pattern. Their electricity figure rise considerably toward the weekend. Argentina is different from these two groups because it declines toward the weekend. Step 2B. Identify trend and exception. When you have decided on the group of data, identify the trend and exception that the group show. A trend means a pattern which is common or shared by a group. An exception is a group or an element which behaves differently from the trend. Look at example chart 4 below and ask yourself the step 1 and step 2A question. This is a movement chart. It shows 9 different time scales along the top axis. The units shown are number of passengers and dollar per ticket. We can group the figure into two groups, passenger and ticket price, and we see that he higher the passenger number, the higher is the cost of the ticket. This is true from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and again from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. However, the situation for the two groups at 6 p.m. is different. Here, a high number of passengers pay a very low ticket price. This is a simple example of deciding on the group in the data. We can now decide on the trend and the exception. The trend is for high passenger number to match high ticket price. The exception is the 6 p.m. time when the research is true. Step 2C. Select the main feature using figures. Remember that the task 1 instruction always say summarize the information. Select and describe the main feature and make comparison where relevant. Main feature in data task means the key figure which demonstrate the group, trend, and exception which you have identified. It is impossible and totally unnecessary to select more than a few figures to use in your task 1 essay. For example, our example chart 3, electric in hospital, contains 35 figures. Example chart 4 has 18 figures. In task 1, you may have up to 3 such charts to describe. You should use your red pen to highlight the figures on the chart which show the most noticeable figures in each group of data, because this will give you the trend. For example, in example chart 3, you should not list all the figures for France and Japan. If you say France and Japan fluctuates around 32 and 18 MW respectively, it shows you understand the trend and have select a key figure in each country to demonstrate this. Step 3. Writing the essay. You should spend about 5 minutes maximum on step 1 and 2 in your process. By this stage, you have about 15 minutes remaining for task 1, so you need to work rapidly now. By this stage, you should have plenty of notes made with your red pen on the test paper itself. We recommend that you don't make a plan for the task 1 essay, because this would take too long and your notes should be sufficient now. Using your notes, you can start writing your essay and complete it in about 10 and 12 minutes. Step 3A. Write the introduction sentence. For your introduction, the examiner wants to see a clear, single sentence that shows you have analyzed and understood the data, time scale, and units involved. To do this, take the explanatory part of the task instruction and paraphrase it in your own words. For example, if the task instruction includes the information, the first graph below shows the weight in tons of fruit produced by a firm during each month in 2013, and also the amount in tons of fertilizer used. The second graph shows the volume of rainfall in each month in millimeters. You can paraphrase this as the chart give data regarding the tonnage of fruit produced from per month in 2013, the fertilizer used, and the monthly rainfall in that year. The candidate has replaced as many words possible from the text with his own words. For example, data, information, average, typical, number of various. He has also varied the structure of the sentence, condensing the first example into one sentence and making the sentence slightly short. Not include any figure or data except the years of given. Not give any background to the topic or add any knowledge, opinion, or ideas of your own. Save the task to that for task 2 where it is needed. Not copy the complete task instruction from the test paper without changing or paraphrasing it. If you practice this, you should be able to write a good introduction sentence in about 1 minute, leaving enough time for the main body of the essay. Don't spend longer than about 1 minute on this because you need plenty of time to read. Step 3b, read the main body paragraph. Explain the group trend, give selected figures, compare group, and explain exception. You will gain marks by having very clearly structured essay. To achieve this, you should describe each chart, table, or graph in turn, explaining any trend or exception that you have seen between the group of data. You should explain the trend at the beginning of each group, and then give your selected figures to illustrate. A simple example is regarding X, the trend is slow rise and then a fall, going from 100 to 110, and then down to 80. You should try to compare any trend and or exception that exists between the different chart and or the group. You should use the notes you have made in the test paper to remind you what to write, including the key figure you have selected. Your essay should then move on to discuss the next chart or the next group of data. A further example of a successful main body paragraph is this one. Based on example text for the passenger number and ticket price. Passenger number peaked 3 times during the day. For example, the number at 6 p.m. is 480, rising to 690 by 8 a.m. before falling again. There is then a peak of 700 at midday, followed by an afternoon decline to a low of 230 at 4 p.m. A third spike is at 6 p.m., reaching 670 before tailing off. In this example, the candidate has used the first main body paragraph to describe the passenger numbered group. He has started by explaining the trend, showing that this is 3 peaks, and then he described each peak using a figure from the chart. He used a variety of parts to describe the change. Peak or rise or fall or decline or spike or tailing off, to show that he can use a wide range of vocabulary. Good text 1 data essay will have a main body containing between 1 and 3 paragraphs, depending on how many chart or group you need to describe. Remember to make it very clear which chart or group you are describing at each point. You can do this by starting the sentence with the name of the group you are describing. For example, X declines dramatically, or by saying regarding X, or looking at X we see that, or turning to X it is clear that, or similar. Remember the task instruction always says summarize the information, select and describing the main feature and make comparison where relevant. This means that you should make it clear that you see the trend and the exception. To introduce the trend, use phrase such as similarly or like with, or in the same way, or a similar pattern or trend. To introduce the exception, use contrast phrase such as however, or by contrast, or by comparison, or conversely. When you read the model essay in this book, make a note of how the read use such phrase, and make sure that you use them in writing your own essay. Be careful of the sentence you use in the essay. If the data show a past time scale which is finished, use the past simple. For example, if the data show 2002 or 2002 plus 2012, use the past simple. If the time scale is current year, or if no year is given, use the present simple. For example, if the data show the month January to June without giving the specific year, use the present simple. If the data includes a prediction about the future, for example, 2020 estimate, use phrases such as the 2020 figure is predicted to be X, or the number for 2020 is estimated to be X. While you are writing the main body, try to count the number of words you have written at least twice, to make sure you aim for at least 150 words. In our model essay, we have put the word count at the end of each essay. But remember that in the test you don't need to write this on your answer sheet. Step 3C. Writing the summary sentence and checking your work. After about 15 minutes in the test, you should be finishing your main body paragraph and starting to write the summary. This will usually be one sentence, a maximum of 3 sentences if there are several charts of group in the task. The summary in a task 1 essay is very different from the conclusion in a task 2 essay. In task 1, you must not give your opinion or make any suggestion about the cause of the death of the data in the task instead. You should summarize the key trend and the key exception that you have described in the main body. An example, based on the example chart 4 is in summary, ticket price increased broadly in line with passenger traffic except during the evening rush hour when they actually fall. The summary is simple but it success because sums up the key group, the trend and the exception in the data. Notice that the summary does not include end figures. Neither your introduction nor your summary shall include figures. Okay, thanks for watching. You can find me at _Nelly Febriani or Gmail Nelly Febriani 2020 _gmail.com. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.